Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today's project is we're going to be replacing this range hood with a new range hood. Now, in this particular case, this is what they call a vented exhaust fan on here, and we're going to be replacing it with a non-vented exhaust fan. So all of this up in here is going to go away, and we are going to actually put shelving in here so we have additional storage space, because the storage space is more important than having a vented hood on the stove. All right, so first thing you're going to do before you do anything is make sure the power supply is turned off to the range hood. Now this one is turned off because when you pull it out, it would actually turn on. So I already clicked the main breaker off, so we're not going to have any problems. All right, now we're going to get in here with our screwdriver. We're going to start taking it apart, and we're going to remove it, and then we'll start to get the new one in there. Okay, now we are going to use a Phillips head screwdriver in this particular case because there's a lot of Phillips head screws inside here. I am going to use an electric screwdriver as well when possible. And we're going to get started. Let's cover up the stove itself so we don't do any damage to the stove, just in case something does fall while we're working. All right, so let's get up underneath here. Let's start taking it apart, and we'll see how it goes. Most likely in here is going to be the wiring, but we'll see when we take it out. Okay, I'm wrong, it's not the wiring, so we'll pull this out a little further. Let's see what else we have in here. Okay, so once we have everything removed underneath the bottom, we have access to the wiring down below. And you'll notice that there's a white wire, a black wire, and a copper-colored wire that's a ground. What we're going to do is we're going to take the wire nuts off, and we're going to turn them in a clockwise rotation. We're going to remove the wire nuts, and then we're going to separate the wires so that we have all three of them disconnected. All right. Next, we're going to go up around to the top, and we're going to pull the wiring up through the top of the unit itself. All right, we're going to put them on the side for now. We're going to come back to this shortly, but for now, we're just going to leave it off to the side. Next, we're going to come to the hood itself, and we're going to take a razor blade, and we're going to cut that tape that's on there, because to try to peel it off is virtually impossible. Once we do, then we just take the unit, lower it down, and we can get it out of there and get started on the removal of the top hood. Okay, next we're going to remove the flue, or the vent I should say. We're not going to totally take it out yet because we will have to go in the attic, but we're going to remove it so we can continue our work inside here. So we're just going to pull all of the caulking out that they had around it, just so we can remove it. Just so you know too, we are going to have to redo this electrical wiring right here, because they have it just coming out here. We choose to put an electrical outlet in here, so we're going to do a video on installing a new outlet in here, because our new range hood, the plug will come up here and it'll plug right in to this outlet right here. All right, so let's finish taking this out and then we'll continue. Of course, we're just going to cut it with a utility knife just so we can get it out, because it is going to be trash. We're not going to use it, of course. so now it's pretty loose here. We will have to go in the attic and we will take this out. And just so you know, we're going to put a piece of wood up here to seal this up so that you'll never even know that flue pipe or the vent pipe was there. All right, so let's get set up, and we're going to do the electrical box over here first. We'll put that in, and we'll go in the attic and we'll pull this out through the top. Okay, so this is from a video that I did a while back where I mounted another microwave on the wall and I had to install an outlet in the wall. So if we had the cabinet, we would do the exact same thing in the cabinet now itself. Now the cabinet obviously is made of wood. This is made of drywall. So it's a little easier here to put the hole in the wall with the saw and cut through it. What we did on the cabinet is we drilled 4 corners and we put a half-inch hole in each corner, and then we got in there with a jigsaw and we cut out what I'm doing here by hand. So we used the jigsaw to cut the cabinet so that we could gain access to the wall behind it, so we could do the cutting out of the drywall to install the receptacle or the box inside the wall. So after we cut the wood out, then we got into the drywall and we did the exact same thing we're doing in this video here in the drywall. We used a drywall saw to cut out the sheetrock or the drywall so that we can install the outlet into the wall itself. So first we cut the cabinet and then we cut the drywall behind the cabinet to allow us to put the box into the wall. Now we're going to take our box, we're going to see if it fits. And once we see it fits, then we'll grab our wiring and we'll slide our wiring through the box itself. Now here we're just going to trim it just a little bit. Remember, it's always good to make it a little bit too tight than to make it a little bit too loose and then the box doesn't fit in there correctly. It's much easier to cut it twice than to cut it once too far. And once we see that it fits perfectly, then we can secure the box in the wall and we can put our wiring through that box. Fits good. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take our box that we're going to use. We're going to strip this down a little bit more here as well. Okay, we're going to take our receptacle box, put it in here like this. We're going to push this through here, just like that. Sometimes a little bit tight going through. So we're just going to push it in here. Just like that. Going to grab our needle nose pliers to help us pull it out. Like that. And we'll keep on feeding it through. Like that. Okay. And now we'll take our box, put it in the wall. I just want to show you how this works as well. When you put this in the wall here and you start to tighten the screw up, this piece turns like that, and this becomes tied up against the wall to hold it in place. All right, so that's what I'm going to do next. Just like this. Okay, now our box is fairly tight. Okay, now we're going to reconnect our wires here. Okay, and now we know our outlet, you can see how the outlet is in here. We're going to put the outlet in the exact same way, and we know that the black wire went on this side and the white wire went on this side, so that's the way we're going to do it, the exact same way that it is in the outlet. But you can also tell by looking at here, this is like a goldish color, and that's silver. The one that's gold is usually your power lead. All right, so that's the way we're going to do it. Okay. You just take it and push it in here, like that, and it locks it in place. Same thing with this white one. Push it in, it locks it in place. And now we're going to connect our ground right on the side, right over here. So what we do is just take this, come around, just like that. And we take our screwdriver and tighten it up. Now, you see how the wire is looped around this way? When you tighten this ground wire up, it should have the loop to this end over here. So as it tightens it, it pulls it in a little bit tighter. Okay? Alright. Now we just bend our wires a little bit like this. And then we can attach our outlet back on here. Okay, now I'm not going to tighten it all the way. Normally you would tighten it all the way down. I'm not gonna, because as you can see, I have to do the tile here. So let's go inside and we're going to turn the power on, and we're going to make sure that this is connected up properly. So let's do that. Okay, so now if we did our job correctly, we should be able to take our tester and have power and ground, or I should say power and return, in this outlet here. And as you can see, it is. Now we're going to check our ground to make sure it's okay as well. That's our power. This one is our ground. We're going to take this, touch it here, and make sure that we have power and ground. And as you can see, we do. All right. Okay, so now we have the old hood unit out. We are putting the new one in, but we had a very large hole in here where the previous unit fit through. So we put a shelf up on the top right here, and now we put our unit up underneath the bottom here. We pre-drilled the holes where it's going to line up on the very bottom here. We got the correct size screws, which was all different sizes. You have to pick which one is going to be right for you. In this particular case, we're using one that's 2 1/4 inches because that's how much we need to go through the unit itself and up into the shelf, which we're putting here to cover up that big humongous hole that's up inside here. All right, so we pre-drilled it and we're going to lift it up. We actually cut out a little slot on the new shelf to accommodate the plug, which we put in. As you can see, we put the new plug in up there. I will attach a video to this of how to install an outlet, because I've done previous videos like that, and I'll put one on there so you can see how we go ahead and put that outlet in there. All right, so we're going to lift this up. This is as I said, it's a non-vented hood, so we did have to put the plug on the top up here, which seals it off, so it just circulates the air, comes up through the front in here versus going up and out through the chimney up top. Now we will take care of that hole up in the top right there. We picked up some very thin, I think it's called Luan, very thin wood that we are going to stain the color that we need. We're going to nail it in up there with our nail gun, and it'll be like this, like that hood and the vent was never there before. All right, so let me lift this up. Let's get these screws caught in there, and we're going to screw them in. We're not going to use a electric screwdriver. We're going to do it by hand because we don't want to take a chance on damaging anything. All right, so let's lift it up. We'll catch these screws in here and then we'll continue. And now this hood is really not that heavy. It's fairly light. The only problem is it's awkward because you try to hold the hood up and screw the screws in at the same time. And we're going to pull this up as well. So we're going to get this up into position up here where it belongs. We're going to hold it in position. We'll catch a couple of screws. We'll pull that cable through and then we'll come right back. Now we have our hood. We caught each one of the 4 screws just by a couple of threads right now. As I said, we needed to hold this shelf down while we drill and screw the screws into it. So as you can see, we have something heavy up on top to hold it in place. Now that we have the hood in position, now we're going to go around and we're going to tighten up all the screws until it's snug up against the bottom of the cabinet. I would recommend doing it by hand. You don't want to use a electric screwdriver and run the possibility of stripping out or breaking anything. So we're just going to screw each one of them up just a little bit until we're nice and snug. Okay, we'll come over and do the same exact thing on this side here. Last one. Okay, I'll come back and finish off on this side here, tighten it up. Okay, so that's it. Our hood is now up. Let me just wash my hands. We'll come back, we'll plug it in, and we'll start it up, make sure it works okay. Okay, that's it. The job is done. We plugged it in. We tested it out to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. That would have been an embarrassing video if it didn't work, right? So, but it works perfectly. The only thing I will point out is that they gave you screws. These little 1-inch screws they supplied with the unit itself, these are not adequate to hold this hood up. If you were mounting it to just a piece of wood, it would be perfect. But in this case, we have a space up in here, which is 3/4 of an inch to an inch in here as a hollow area below the cabinet. And these screws would just not hold the hood in place. So we did have 2.5 inch. And we had 2-inch, but of course we didn't have 2 1/4 as we needed, so it was a trip to the big box store to make sure we got the right one. We pre-drilled the holes because pre-drilling, you get the screws exactly where you want them to go. There's no walking around with the drill or anything. It's exactly as you want it to be. But that's it. This job is done. So this is what it looks like after we now put the shelves back inside where it belongs, and we also put that piece of wood up in the top and painted it and stained it to match the rest of the cabinets. And as you can tell, looking at it, you can't even tell that there was ever a hole up in the top for the vent stack to go out. It looks like the cabinet's always been like that. If you like this video and you would like to subscribe, down below there's a subscription button down below. You can click that button. When you do, a little bell is going to pop up. When the bell pops up, you can click on the bell and you could choose to be notified of future uploads if you want to be notified. But that's it. This job is done. We're going to clean our greasy fingerprints off, of course. We'll put the rest of the unit up underneath the bottom here. It's just the filters. We have the 3 filters underneath here, and we have also a special charcoal filter that goes up in there as well. But that's it. This job is done, and we're on to the next one. All right, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.